Coming up on In the Life, it's Melissa and Martina, honored in LA. A trip to Boston as Outriders converge with Tony Kushner, Urvashi Vaught, and Ann Bannon. Dance and drama with Bill T. Jones and B.D. Wong, and veterans of many wars. All up on In the Life, America's information line on gay and lesbian issues and culture.
In the Life is funded in part by the H. Van Ameringen Foundation. Additional support provided by Michael A. Lepin, Jeffrey B. Soref, Eldon W. Tamlin, the Gay and Lesbian Business and Consumer Expo, and In the Life members nationwide.
In the
It's like being a veteran.
We are veterans.
We are
exactly.
veterans. Veterans stay together because they know how it was to be in the trenches.
Welcome. I'm Catherine Linton. In a series of stories on this edition of In the Life, we pay tribute to our veterans, not only those lesbians and gay men who have served their country in the military, but also those who have been in the forefront in the struggle for equal rights and in the fight against AIDS. As you'll see in the lesbian and gay community, the word veteran includes soldiers of many stripes. Today, the battle against homophobia, discrimination, and AIDS is often waged in the workplace. As correspondent Bill Britt tells us, the entertainment industry is a place where one group has made a difference.
The annual concert to raise money for AIDS Project Los Angeles has also been known to raise the consciousness of those who attend. Jess asked two of the most powerful men in Hollywood, QVC Chairman Barry Diller and the President and Chief Operating Officer of MCA Universal, Sid Sheinberg.
I got a call one day from Barry. He had come to the realization, and I think surprisingly so, that there were a lot of problems in our community in the way gay people were perceived and depicted and treated.
One of the biggest problems was the fact that Hollywood, despite its reputation for being a liberal haven for gays and lesbians, had a less than stellar record concerning discrimination. Employment at a major network or on the lot of a famous studio did not guarantee a safe haven from the kind of unfair treatment that could crop up in any other workplace in any other community. So Sheinberg and Diller co-founded Hollywood Supports and asked Richard Jennings, a friend and former corporate lawyer, to help lead the fight against homophobia on the job.
One of the first ways that we approached that was by getting the industry to adopt domestic partner benefits, so that's starting to become an industry standard.
With MCA Universal leading the way, Hollywood Supports helped 15 other studios and networks extend health insurance plans to same-sex partners. After sponsoring more than 1,000 AIDS seminars for a variety of companies, there is now a new seminar. It's titled Sexual Orientation in the Workplace. It's an enticing topic when facilitators remind employers about the bottom line.
They need to understand the different aspects of the general public. Also, there are companies and professional groups, law firms and the like, are particularly always seeking the best and the brightest coming out of professional schools. Well, if they want the best and the brightest to come there, they have to acknowledge that sometimes the best and the brightest are gay and lesbian. How do they make the environment attractive to them?
The workplace is where we spend most of our working lives, and it's also a place where it's fairly easy to make change, where employers who have any level of sophistication get it pretty quickly.
I really believe in many ways this starts at the top. I mean, no one walks the halls here and hears, quote, fag jokes, close quote. I mean, we have an attitude here, and it's an attitude based upon, you know, deep personal conviction, and it didn't start when it became fashionable. We've tried to be activists. This is me personally, and I guess some of it has rubbed off on the company.
Of course, all this rubs some folks the wrong way. More than a few people who attend the seminars bluntly ask, why are we here?
You find out what their needs are, find out what it's like where they work, and if, I always believe this with anyone, if you can make them understand what it would be like for them. So that, for example, if, without getting too personal with them, if you can maybe try and find out a little about their own experience, and then you turn it to, well, what if being a man in the workplace was a bad thing? Well, what would that be like for you? So behavior is what we tend to stress, not changing someone's beliefs.
There are those who believe that anything you do with the gay community is worthy of condemnation. I get more than my share of death threats. There are those who believe that why should you cover people of the same sex in the category of health plans? Why not cover heterosexual couples who are living together but aren't married? I think the only test that I've been able to use is are we doing the right thing? And I can't tell you that this is the only right thing we should be doing, but like everybody else, we do have limited resources. We can't do everything we would like to do, and we have to make choices.
From Scheinberg to the folks at Hollywood Supports to celebrities like Elton John, making the right choices has meant making life just a little easier for everyone else, and making their own lives all the richer for it.
I think it's important in my life to have something else to do other than be Elton John, and to be so self-absorbed all the time, and what am I going to do, what am I going to write, what am I going to record, where am I going to tour. I've been given a second chance at my life. I deserve to do something good for me, to give something back.
Perhaps no other issue has so divided the lesbian and gay community, or the country for that matter, as President Clinton's attempt to lift the ban on gays in the military. But lost in that debate was an appreciation for how many lesbians and gay men proudly serve their country, often distinguishing themselves not only on the battlefield, but also in the battle against homophobia in the Army, Navy, Air Force, and the Marines. What was it like to be a gay service member in World War II, in Vietnam? And is it really any easier today?
I'd rather lose my uniform than my integrity.
And you will, you know.
Long before Colonel Margareta Kammermeyer challenged the ban, lesbians and gays were serving in the military, and not always in silence.
When the country is at war, there is a strong need for warm bodies, and even queer warm bodies.
They come from every walk of life.
In the documentary Before Stonewall, Women's Army Corps Sergeant Johnny Phelps remembers her response when then General Eisenhower ordered her to ferret out all the lesbians in her battalion.
If the general is prepared to replace all the file clerks, all the section commanders, all of the drivers, every woman in the WAC detachment, and there were about 980-something of us, then I'll be happy to make that list. But you have to know that the first name on the list will be mine. And he said, forget the order.
Later, as president, it was Eisenhower who signed an executive order banning homosexuals from federal jobs. The McCarthy era had begun.
And then he said there are homosexuals in the Army, and we've been paying for that statement ever since. Even though McCarthy was discredited, his policies never were.
Vernon Copy Berg learned that the hard way. A model midshipman, Glee Club member, and artist, Berg would become the first naval officer to challenge the ban. In the Life spoke with gay veterans from several generations. Though their experiences differ, all served in units where they were not alone.
Most of the Korean vets are rather well established now, so they don't want to come out and say, hey, I'm gay. But there was an undercurrent of it in the service.
Generals are very, very intelligent. They pick out the gay man to come in and be his attaché and pretend not to know. What a surprise, you know.
There was a person that I served with that was a drag queen. I mean, they dressed up on the weekends. I mean, they had fabulous costumes and outfits. And people that we work with, both straight and gay, knew that this particular person did drag shows on the weekend.
But in unfriendly commands, the witch hunts were real.
I was closeted the whole time that I was in the military. It just wasn't anything that you really talked about, even though there were times when I was approached by people I was always worried that maybe it was entrapment.
We got in a new battalion commander who was rabid on this issue. I mean, this was, homosexuals were ruining the Army. And he, early in his tenure, he called in all the officers on a weekend and said, tonight, in the middle of the night, we're going through the barracks on a surprise inspection. And we weren't looking for contraband, we weren't looking for weapons or drugs. We were specifically looking for males sleeping with males and females sleeping with females.
That same commander later ordered her investigated as well. Years before, Copy Berg got a hint of what was to come from two other gay seamen on his ship.
They made them, together with U.S. Marshals on either side of them, walk down the gangplank in the entire length of the pier, and they put them in a police van. And every single person who was on board that ship who could, did go and watch. That's the kind of public humiliation that they use.
Soon, Berg himself was accused by the Navy of homosexuality. He joined with Air Force Sergeant Leonard Matlovich in a long but unsuccessful legal fight to win reinstatement. 1 year ago, President Clinton and Congress compromised on a new policy that was supposed to make life easier for gays in the military. But
too frequently, don't ask, don't tell, and don't pursue has become, in the field, ask, harass, and pursue.
It's this funny combination of freedom and knowing that the rug could be pulled out from under you at any time. Anybody could turn you in.
And for those commanders who wish to pursue, those service members are being hunted down.
Michelle Beneke helps run a service members' legal aid and watchdog group that has received over 400 calls about witch hunts, illegal interrogations, even death threats. A quarter of those calls come from women.
Women continue to be accused of being lesbians, often in retaliation for reporting men who are sexually harassing or who have raped them.
And the discharge rate for gays in the Air Force has actually gone up. This at a time when gay interest has gone down.
Be all that you can be.
The call to lift the ban at the March on Washington
'Cause we need you.
Was barely heard at Stonewall 25.
There's about 100,000 gay and lesbian men and women serving now who need our help. They cannot be abandoned.
And thousands more who continue to sign up for the same reason Maurice Franklin did.
Economic reasons, education reasons. Living in Oklahoma, it was a way out for me.
What would you tell a service member now who is in trouble, who is being harassed or pursued by the military?
They should say nothing, sign nothing, and they should call us. Call Service Members Legal Defense Network in Washington, D.C.
And as the legal challenge to don't ask, don't tell works its way through the courts, the veterans we spoke to will be watching.
I can't believe that in 10 years from now the courts won't have recognized that they cannot legislate prejudice into law.
Don't ask, don't tell, don't go. You know, personally, that's one of the ways I feel, and then let them see how bad the place falls apart.
Thinking back to blacks going from a segregated military to an integrated military, I knew that took about 16 years. So I'm hopeful that there are things in place that will, that we won't even be thinking about the issue of gays and lesbians in the military.
And it's going to take time for the tolerance and acceptance of their co-workers to realize that it doesn't make one damn bit of difference, just like it didn't make any difference when I was in.
It meant so much to me to graduate from West Point and to be part of a tradition. I'm still part of that. It hurts.
For lesbians and gays, the word veteran refers not only to those who have served our country. It has also come to include veterans of a different war, a war that continues to claim new lives every day, a war that seemingly has no end. It is, of course, the war against AIDS. We're here at Fenway Community Health Center in Boston, the largest community-based AIDS care provider in Massachusetts. Boston is home to a visible and vibrant lesbian and gay community. It is here